This is a must-have for your bookmaking. This is a 4-in-1 book press, finishing press, sewing frame, and guillotine press. This is what we're making this week on the Philohobbyist. And my name's Joe. For the plates of the book press, I'm just using some 3/4 inch plywood I had laying around. It's not the best quality of plywood. One surface is good, the other surface is so-so. I've cut it down to 13 by 11 inches. I figure 13 inches would be a lot big enough for a 10-inch book. I don't want it to look perfect. I want it distressed a little bit. I'm going to scratch the surface a little bit, and maybe after I stain it, I'll just sand it down a little bit. I don't want it looking brand new. I want it looking aged. So as I'm sanding it down, I'm going to scuff it up a little bit with some coarser sandpaper. I'll stain it a dark walnut and just use a paper towel to apply the stain. So as you notice, the scratches I put in with the sandpaper are showing up here with the dark stain, which is good. It's the desired effect I was looking for. I used my router to create a T-slot in the wood here. It's just, again, another scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood. This is for the base. I'm using a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood and a couple of small pieces of 2x4s just to keep the book press on its edges. You keep it on the edges for finishing the spine of the book. Most people call it a finishing press. Sometimes I call it a fence. Either way, I'm just making something to be able to keep this thing in place. One side will be glued down, the other side I'll slide back and forth, and I'll add a little knob there just to tighten it down. So naturally, this thing will work better when it's turned on. So I figure why not go for a darker color stain, just using the espresso gel here for the base. Trying to make this 2x4s pretty. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'm trying here, guys. We have here a clear semi-gloss polyurethane. It says quick drying. It's not that quick, but anyways. We'll give it 1 to 2 coats, maybe do some sanding in between, smoothing it out. Not going to go crazy, 2 coats max. And I'm just going to use an acid brush to apply it. I know I shouldn't. Sometimes I get lazy, which I shouldn't, but anyways. So this is a gold foil and a USB pen that heats up. So what happens is the pen will heat up. It goes to about 70 degrees Celsius, and that'll melt the foil, I guess, of the gold, and it'll stick to the wood. It worked really good. It worked really well. Sorry, correct my English. It worked well. as I applied the gold foil, but you'll see after I applied the polyurethane afterwards, it looks like the polyurethane ate away at the gold, and afterwards you could barely see the logo. So, live and learn. I'm not exactly sure what the components of polyurethane are. I'm assuming it's a resin type of ingredient, and I'm not sure if there's a hardener in there or not, as it hardens in the air, but it does eat away at the gold foil, which I applied to the plate. So, bye-bye logo. Then again, it adds to the aged look. Aged look. I've heard people say aged. I don't know, it doesn't sound right. Anyways. On its side, the book press becomes a finishing press, but I like calling it a fence. If you're covering the book with leather, and more specifically, if you're adding a raised binding to the spine of the book, what you want to do is attach a cord to the screws that I'm putting on so that you can add some pressure to either side of the raised binding so that the leather will stick tightly to the bends while the glue dries. But if you're not working with leather, or if you're not adding raised bindings to the spine of the book, then these aren't necessary. But, I'd like to have it all encompassing. If bookbinding or bookmaking was my only hobby, I'd have a really nice fence for finishing the side of the book. I'd have a really nice press to press the book. Actually, though, there's really nice ones out there. I'd really like, they're with a big wheel on it. They're made out of metal. I'd really like to get an antique one. I think they're just beautiful machines. Anyways. And I also have a sewing frame for stitching on the tape on the sides of the books for added stability. However, I'm not. I'm a generalist. I like having many hobbies. I'm called the Philohobbyist for a reason. Philohobbyist is the love of hobbies. And to tell you the truth, I enjoy making the tools as much as the hobbies themselves. I am working on a project where I'm going to take a collection of recipes that I've collected. I'm making a recipe book. It's about 200 pages, and I want to create a nice hardbound book out of that. I don't know if it's going to be leather bound or not, but that's to be decided. So we're going through the stages of creating the tools required for such an endeavor. What I need is the sewing frame. Now, if you can look around, I don't have space for a book press, a fence, a sewing frame. So I'm going to incorporate the sewing frame into this. So this is going to be a 3-for-1. It's going to be a book press, a fence, and a sewing frame. So I changed my mind. Also, we had brass fittings here, brass hardware, only because of these screws. They're old brass screws from door handles. I'm going to get away from that. Anyways, we're not finished. More to do here. I really don't like the way those brass screws turned out, so I got rid of those. What I'm doing is taking 1/4-inch skewers. I'm going to stain them, cut them into 1-inch lengths, and stick them where the screws were. So what I'm doing here is drilling some 1/4-inch holes to fit the skewer pieces. This next part is really making me nervous. I need to cut a slot in the bottom section of, or the bottom plate of the book press. The banding or the tape, the edge banding or the edge tape will be passed up through that. So, however, the plywood that I'm using, as I mentioned earlier, it's not the best quality, and the inner portion or the inner face of the plate, the quality of the plywood or the quality of the veneer is not as nice as the outer plate. So I'm afraid that when I route the slot out, we're going to tear away this plywood and it's going to go all to waste, and I'm going to be all pissed off and I'm going to cry. I made this jig for the router, specifically for the straight bits of the router. You can turn it around or turn it inside out type of it. One side will work with a 1/4 inch straight bit and the other side will work with a 1/2 inch straight bit. So you can use this jig to create straight cuts, precise cuts with the router. When routing through wood or making a slot in the wood like I am, it's best to make many shallow passes as to avoid any splinters from the wood. Also, making one pass that's deep may snap your bit in two. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking from experience here. I would like to use the router more frequently. I used to have this router attached upside down onto a routing table, and there was a quick access and a quick setup. However, the space around me is small and there would just be too much dust and wood chips flying around. Very nice. Very nice indeed. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I broke this. Rats. Do it on so many times too. I'm just rounding off the corners of these plugs and out of the skewers. Yes, I know, I need to change the sanding disc. Don't judge. I did change it right after this, by the way. So here I am inserting the wooden dowels into the press, into the holes that I've drilled out. I'm just going to stain the tops from the sanding, and I'll stain the slot and some other unfinished portions of the press. I've inserted the wooden pegs. You can see, nice in a straight line. I've stained them. I've stained the little groove here and the holes. The holes are recovered anyway, it doesn't matter. On this side also. Next step is, so here's the press. Can you see this? So, book press will be on legs. Tie it down. Fence to do the edges of the book. Here. And now for the sewing frame. It's going to be sitting like this on the table. This part won't be used. And what we're going to have is, so normally, okay, here's the book press. So it's like this, right? The frame is just going to be 2 posts. I created this, it's just a piece of poplar. I stained it with 2 holes, fits perfectly here. Right? So what's going to happen is it'll sit here and then we're going to have the straps hanging down. Now I thought I would just get an extension, right? Basically one of these nuts, it's just longer. And I could just add the extension to it. And have it like that, right? And then have a knob lifting it up and down. I don't like that, doesn't matter. What I did is I got a piece of dowel. This looks like 1 1/4 inches. It's 1 1/4 inch dowel. I added a screw to it. Sorry, they're called hanger screws. I think I'm wrong. I'll put the real name up there. If it's not a hanger screw, I'll put the name. You got wooden thread here, and then you got a regular threading for a nut, right? So what you do is drill a hole, screw this into the wood, and then this will screw into the nut. Not explaining properly. I'm going to get rid of these. So these are gone. What's going to happen is we're going to get a T-nut, 5/16. They're going to be inserted on at the bottom. And this way, we're going to make another one of these. And that'll screw in. We'll make another one of these, we'll screw it in. We'll add a little bolt to the top. We'll add, calling it a hanger. I don't know if it's right, true or not, but we're going to add another one here. And this will sit here. This will sit here. And then I'm thinking maybe I add this and I can adjust it. So I have that full extension here. I don't have the T-nuts. I need to get T-nuts, 5/16 T-nuts. I don't have enough. So I have to go to the big orange store and get some. And this way, I'll get a piece of 5/16 all thread, which I have here, and this will be screwed in. And that's the way the book press will be added. On this end, I will probably just keep, actually, maybe I want a 5-inch. Let me keep these here. Not sure what I'm going to do with the legs yet, because if I put these T-nuts on the bottom, I can just get a piece of rubber leg like so. Just add it to the bottom, 5/16 rubber leg, this will take a piece, and then this will just screw in, and I don't know. I'm rambling on, but I think that's what we're gonna do. That's how it's gonna be addressed. I didn't do a very good job explaining, but next step is to make another one of these. Goes there. I'm gonna stain it. Add one of these. Add this to the end. Have it sticking out. Stain it. Go to the big orange store. Get some 5/16 all thread. Get 10 T-nuts. You know what I'm also thinking? While we're at it. What if What if this was like this? What if you take this bar, you put it here, what if I made this bar longer? What if I made this bar wider? Right? What if I took this bar and I made it flush here at the top? If I made it flush at the top, right? Position it. I have to get the proper measurements. What if I did that? Or on this end. What if it was like that? And what if I could then use types of crap. Okay, what if this was flush? I'm gonna make another one of these. What if this was flush and then you took a nice curved knife and you could use it to shave the sides of the book. And this will be running out against the top. You can also use a chisel, right? So it'll be a 4-in-1. It'll be a press, a fence, a sewing frame, and a makeshift plow. They call it a plow. And that's to cut the edges, to smoothen out the sides of the 3 edges of the book. Just stick the dowel into the corner, draw a line, turn it around a bit, draw a line. That's the center. If you want to triple check, there you go. Not sure where we left off. I got the dowels stained. I've cut off some knobs and I've stained them. It's just a center cut of this 2-inch bore drill bit. You just drill them into plywood and you get this knocked out, and then I just drilled a small little shallow hole to hold the T-bolt, the T-nut. I bought some T-nuts, 5/16 T-nuts. And I bought an additional hanger screw, which is what I needed, which is going here. And they are called hanger screws. I want it to hang. Are these 5/16s? These are 5/16s, right? Oh, they're 7/16s. Yeah. Okay, let's make feet for the press. I've got some old resin laying around, which I haven't used in quite a while. I figure I'll add some black paint to it. I'll add some black paint to the resin, and, it'll do. I've got small plastic shot glasses, which I've drawn a line approximately 3/4 of the way up. My intention is to fill these shot glasses with the mixed resin, the black resin, and hope it'll harden and make good feet. So we'll see what happens. My thinking is if I can insert the bolts into the resin upside down and let them dry this way, then I'll have makeshift feet. The only issue is how to keep these bolts elevated and stationed in the middle of the shot glasses. So that's got to be figured out. You have 5/16 hole. Yep. That'll pretty well work. That'll work. This stuff is old, it's turned color. It's not even clear anymore. Anyways. Easy. Whoa! Oh, too much. That's why you keep something underneath. Now let this stuff stick. Pull it up. Pull it up. And that's some black ink. I don't know what this is going to do to it. Let's see what it does. Made a nice charcoal brown. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit in each. We'll put the screws in. Then I don't know what we're going to do. I put way too much here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, okay. So let's put some in. Actually, I'm going to stick the whole thing. Whoa. Just enough. I mean, just a little bit too little. Or is it perfect? I don't care. I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life. Just underneath the line. Just underneath the line. Right at the line. Can you believe this is the perfect amount. I can't believe it. It's like just about perfect. It's unbelievable. Okay. Now, it's gonna settle. Let's put this in the middle. This in the middle. It's gonna be bubbly. It's gonna have air pockets right here. Their legs. I don't know. There. So it's like it's unbelievably the right amount on each one. It's unbelievable how much I poured. It's like it's okay. In the quiet town of Meadowbank, Nestled between rolling hills and babbling brooks, there lived a young and aspiring novelist named Lena Erebunian. Lena had always been captivated by the magic of words, but her attempts to create enchanting stories often left her feeling defeated. Her small cottage, adorned with shelves of dusty books and stacks of crumpled manuscripts, bore witness to her struggles. One gloomy evening, as Lena sat at her weathered desk, surrounded by the flickering light of a single candle, a soft tapping on the window caught her attention. Startled, she turned to find a small, pointed hat peeking through the window pane. Curiosity overcoming her initial surprise, Lena opened the window to reveal a mystical gnome with a long white beard and twinkling eyes. "Greetings, Lena. I am Gilgameshgli, a gnome of the Enchanted Glade," the tiny creature announced, his voice carrying a melodic quality. "I've been watching you wrestle with the magic of words. Fear not, for I bring tidings of inspiration." Lena, wide-eyed and intrigued, invited Gilgameshgli inside. The gnome explained that he possessed ancient knowledge of a magical book press that could unlock the creativity dormant within her. With a mischievous smile, Gilgameshgli whispered, "Build a book press, and I shall be your muse, always by your side as you weave tales." Determined to grasp any chance at realizing her dreams, Lena followed Gilgameshgli's instructions. She gathered wood from the ancient oak tree in her backyard, collected vibrant inks from the flowers that bloomed in spring, and adorned the book press with intricately carved symbols. Once the book press was complete, a soft, radiant glow emanated from its surface. It seemed to hum with a quiet energy that resonated with Lena's creative spirit. Placing it in the corner nook of her writing space, Lena felt an immediate connection to the mystical device. From that day forward, the enchanted book press became Lena's constant companion. As she wrote, the pages seemed to come alive with characters and worlds that danced in harmony with her imagination. The gnome's words proved true. The book press was a conduit for creativity, a source of inspiration that never waned. Word of Lena's newfound abilities spread through Meadowbank. Publishers sought her out, and readers eagerly awaited each new tale she penned. The once struggling novelist had blossomed into a celebrated storyteller, thanks to the magical guidance of Gilgameshgli and the enchanted book press. Every evening, as Lena sat in her corner nook, the mystical gnome would appear for a brief moment, nodding approvingly at the stories unfolding on the pages. With a twinkle in his eyes, Gilgameshgli would vanish, leaving Lena with the knowledge that magic truly existed in the art of storytelling and the companionship of a tiny gnome and his wondrous creation. So I called it a guillotine. It's not really a guillotine. It's just basically a corner piece of aluminum, which I cut down to size, and I'm using that as a straight edge to cut the paper. It is pressed between the book press. It is hugged between the claws of the book press to keep it tight, so I will get some fairly clean cuts here. I'm using a leather skive or leather knife that I made here. It's fairly sharp, it's not perfect. You can also use a chisel, which I can get sharper than this rounded part. So it worked pretty good though. I'll be honest, the blade I made here, the rounded one and the one that I'm using, isn't the sharpest. I'd rather use something sharper. I'm thinking about using a utility blade. I'm thinking one of those 9mm ones. There are super sharp blades that are sold for these. I just purchased one, and I think I will keep it dedicated for this purpose. So that's it. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. What started out as a book press / book fence morphed into a press fence sewing frame, which morphed into a press fence sewing frame. Press for cutting, guillotine, I don't know. Probably making good use out of it. Wasn't that difficult. It was actually quite fun. And that's what it's all about, right? Enjoying yourself. So thanks for joining me again. And until next time, peace.